was 1921. Big band and jazz were the latest fads in music. Tulsa's population had almost tripled since statehood in 1907 because of Oklahoma's oil boom. Oil derricks could be seen for miles. While the whites were getting rich off the oil, blacks were getting rich because of their hard work and determination. Black Wall Street, which today is more commonly referred to as North Tulsa, was one of the most affluent communities in America. There were 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, a hospital, a bank, a post office, libraries, schools, law offices, pawn shops everywhere, and half a dozen private airplanes. There was even a bus system in this little community. At the time of the riot, the whole state of Oklahoma had 2 airports, but it should be noted that 6 blacks owned their own airplanes. The area known as Black Wall Street, or Little Africa, covered 36 square blocks with an estimated population of 15,000 black Americans.
It was just a quiet town, we played and had church, and it was just built up like it is now.
The people over there had depended entirely on themselves, and they had their stores and their drugstores and their doctors and the lawyers and everything. They were doing very well.
Greenwood has always been a mecca of businesses.
It was very important to the black community that each of their children be well educated. The average black student wore a suit and tie to school because of the morals and respect they were taught at a young age. Little Africa was such a closely knit community that if a resident's home was burned down, it could be rebuilt by their neighbors in just a few weeks. That was not the case on the night of May 31st, 1921. The riot began when the whites marched to the courthouse to lynch Dick Rowland, a young black man who was accused of attacking Sarah Page, a white elevator operator. It was reported that Dick Rowland, a young black businessman who shined shoes, needed to use the restroom. Since black people were not allowed to use the facilities on the main floor of the Drexel building, he had to ride the elevator up to the 3rd floor. On his way back down to the main floor, something tragic happened. While several theories exist, no one knows what happened for sure. In one story, Dick Rowland stepped on the foot of Sarah Page, the white elevator operator, while entering the elevator, and then she started to hit him with her purse. Another possibility is that when the elevator lurched downward, Rowland lost his balance and fell into Miss Page, making her think he was trying to assault her.
That she and Dick Rowland were friends. In fact, they went together. And she was in this elevator, and he went up to use the restroom, and when he came down, he went into the elevator and he stepped on her foot. And this made her mad because her foot was sore, and she took her purse and kept hitting him over the head, and he put his hands up, and that was what they said was the attack.
Another theory about why the riot began is that the KKK purposely blew the incident between Sarah Page and Dick Rowland out of proportion to cover up their involvement with the riot.
All I could go by is what they said. They said a colored boy and a white girl on the elevator said he kissed her, somebody called him kiss her or something like that. Now that's what they said when it started.
Well, we had 6,000 members of the Ku Klux Klan at that time in Tulsa. And so they were working against Negroes and Catholics and foreigners.
To date, no single theory has been proven. According to the newspaper report, blacks made an armed attack on the courthouse after hearing that a group of whites were planning to go there on Tuesday night, May 31st, 1921, to lynch the bootblack Dick Rowland. Soon after the blacks arrived at the courthouse, a shot was fired. While several stories have circulated, no one knows by whom the shot was fired. But a shot was fired, a shot that shattered forever the black Tulsan's dream of ever having a strong impact on Tulsa's economic future. This changed forever the black community. Whites broke into sporting goods stores and hardware stores in Black Tulsa, grabbing rifles, pistols, and ammunition. They went to advantageous points and shot at the blacks.
and got on the streetcar, and his lights were all off, and he had us all lie down on the floor. And then he started through town. That was on the other side of the railroad track. But by the time we got to the railroad track, this is where the fight was going on. And they shot through the windows, and the glass fell down on top of our heads. And then we went on through town. All the lights had been shot out.
The first fire broke out about 1 a.m. at the intersection of Archer and Boston. At the same time, a gang of whites began terrorizing the black community, knocking on doors and setting fire to the homes. Thus, Little Africa became a raging inferno.
While we were under the bed, the men came in, the men with torches came in and set our curtains on fire first, and then set everything that would burn inside the house, and set the house on fire. When they were leaving, one stepped on my finger because I was the last one to get up under the bed. And one stepped on my finger, and my sister put her hand over my mouth to keep me from screaming.
The majority of the riot took place along the Frisco tracks in the area of First and Archer, the dividing line between black and white Tulsa. During all the rioting, whites were robbing and looting black businesses and homes just before they were burned. At 3 a.m. on June 1st, the National Guard was ordered to travel by special train to Tulsa. Shortly after the National Guard arrived, they mounted 2 machine guns at the top of Standpipe Hill and fired into Little Africa in an attempt to stop the riot.
So he drove over to Standpipe Hill and went up on top of it and went clear to the edge of the hill, and we could look down and see Greenwood burning. There was 35 city blocks, and they were burning and shooting, and from over on my right was a veteran of World War I, and he was dressed in his uniform and had puttees on, and he ran over and said, "Damn it to hell, get out of here, you're in the range of fire." So that scared us, and we turned around, and just as he stood up, he was shot right here through the shoulder, and he put his hand up and got his hand all wet with blood.
As the sun rose, piles of bricks and rubble and a few chimneys and some gateposts were all that were left of Black Wall Street. The ruins resembled a town hit simultaneously by fire and tornado. 36 square blocks and over 600 businesses had been destroyed in that one night. One of the most devastating losses was Mount Zion Baptist Church, which had been built just a few months before the riot. It had taken so long for the members of Mount Zion to build this new church, and now it had been taken away in a matter of moments. By midday, June 1st, thousands of blacks were held at Convention Hall, McNulty Baseball Park, the fairgrounds, and a flying field east of Tulsa. The official report claims that 26 blacks were killed during the night, but unofficially as many as 300 may have been killed. The dead allegedly were put into large wooden crates and buried in the paupers section of Oaklawn Cemetery. It was reported that some were thrown into the Arkansas River. The investigation still continues as to the accuracy of these statements. In the winter of 1921 and 1922, approximately 1,000 blacks lived in tent cities because their homes had been burned down. Eventually, they were moved into wooden houses where they would live until they could rebuild. In less than 12 hours, what had been a flourishing community now lay in ruins. And even though the homes were rebuilt and the businesses did reopen, Tulsa's Greenwood district would never be the same. Black Wall Street was no more. A commission appointed by the Oklahoma governor Frank Keating in 1997 continues to investigate the 1921 race riot. At their meeting in November of 1999, evidence pointed to the possibility of mass graves in Oaklawn Cemetery. The conspiracy of silences that began some 80 years ago appears to be coming to an end. Or maybe not.